today we're going to go over lesson 7 of the one and only Ivan. Our learning target today is I can describe how two things are similar and how they are different. So I want to ask you, what is your earliest memory? I want you to think about your earliest memory, and then I want you to type it in the Google form that's attached to this. So what is your earliest memory? Go ahead and pause and answer that. Moving on. Several times throughout the first two parts of our story, Ivan or another character comments on how forgetful gorillas are in comparison to elephants. In this section, Ivan desperately wants to remember details from his past life to help him get through the hard times following Stella's death. We're going to quickly read Once Upon a Time, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it, okay? All night, Ruby moans and sniffles. I pace my domain. I don't want to fall asleep in case she needs something. Ivan, Bob says gently, get some sleep, please. For your sake and for mine. Bob can't sleep unless he is on my stomach. I hear a stirring. Ivan? Ruby calls. I rush to my window. Ruby, are you all right? I miss Aunt Stella, Ruby sobs. And I miss my mom and my sisters and my aunts and my cousins, too. I know, I say, because it's all I can think of. Ruby sniffles. I can't sleep. Do you know any stories the way Aunt Stella did? Not really, I admit. Stories were Stella's specialty. Tell me a story about when you were little, Ruby pleads. She puts her trunk between the bars. Please, Ivan. I scratch the back of my head. I don't remember things, Ruby, I admit. It's true, Bob says, trying to be helpful. Ivan has a terrible memory. He's the opposite of an elephant. Ruby lets out a long, shivery breath. Oh, well, that's okay. Night, Ivan and Bob. I listen to Ruby's soft sobs for long, horrible minutes. Then I hear myself saying, Once upon a time, there was a gorilla named Ivan. And slowly and deliberately, I try to remember. So that is the chapter Once Upon a Time. So Ivan was trying to remember something that was important to him, a memory, so he could tell Ruby. I want you to ask yourselves and answer in the Google form, why are memories so important to us? Why are memories so important to us? So go ahead and pause, answer that. All right, let's talk about it. So memories are important to us because it helps us remember, it helps us connect to things and hold on to things. It helps us learn from our mistakes or learn from the things that went well in our life. So memories help guide us through life and give us hope even. So Ivan's using these memories to give Ruby hope, to give her happiness. So memories can be used for all sorts of things. They just help us guide our life. So I want you to go to page 22 of your SAP, and I'll go to my page that looks like yours. All right. As you read today, you're going to learn more about Ivan's life in the wild, as well as in his captivity as he begins to remember. So think about what captivity means. Do you remember? That was one of our vocabulary words. So captivity is like not free. It's like caged up. It could mean you're enclosed into close quarters, or you're in a space that you're not allowed to go out of. So you're captive. You're not able to roam free. You're not free. Now, life in the wild, you're free. You can roam. Ivan would be able to play. In captivity, he has to stay in his domain, which is his cage. So you're going to use this right here. It's called a Venn diagram. I'm not sure if you've ever used it before or not. So in the big circles, this one and this one, that's where you put things that are different. So you're going to put everything about captivity and then everything about the wild. But what if they have something in common? You're going to put it right here in the middle where they overlap. So this is where they are alike. So let's go ahead and read our vocabulary words real quick. So our first one is unsuspecting. A person or an animal unaware of something. That means you're not thinking it's going to happen. You're unaware. It's kind of like a surprise, but maybe not a good one. A squabble, a noisy argument about something unimportant. Tolerant, willing to allow a certain opinion or behavior. You probably have heard your parents say, I'm not going to tolerate this. That means they're just not going to put up with it. So if you're tolerant, you are kind of patient. You're going to put up with it. You're kind of laid back, go with the flow. Forage, to search for food. And amplify, to increase the volume or sound to get louder. So right here, this is kind of an option if you want to draw. You can use the scribble option or maybe open with Cami. You don't have to do this slide, so don't worry about it. But I'm going to go back to the vocabulary, and we're going to read some chapters from the grunt to my place. So the grunt to my place, and I will put that in the Google Classroom so you know if you're reading along. You don't have to guess. All right, the grunt. Let me move my bookmark. I was born in a place humans call Central Africa, in a dense rainforest so beautiful no crayons could ever do it justice. Gorillas don't name their newborns right away, the way humans do. We get to know our babies first. We wait to see hints of what might yet be. When they saw how much she loved to chase me around the forest, my parents decided on my twin sister's name, Tag. Oh, how I loved to play tag with my sister. She was nimble, but when I got too close, she would leap onto my unsuspecting father. Then I would join her, and we would bounce on that tolerant belly until he gave us the grunt. The rooting pig sound that meant enough. The game never got old, although my father might have disagreed. Chapter Mud. It didn't take long for my parents to find my name. All day long, every day, I made pictures. I drew on rocks and bark and my poor mother's back. I used the sap from leaves, like the sticky stuff. I used the juice from fruit, but mostly I used mud. And that is what they called me, Mud. To a human, mud might not sound like much, but to me, it was everything. Protector. My family, which humans call a troop, was just like any other gorilla family. There were 10 of us, my father, the silverback, my mother and 3 other adult females, a juvenile male called Blackback, and 2 other young gorillas. Tag and I were the babies of the group. We squabbled now and then as families will, but my father knew how to keep us in line with a simple scowl, and for the most part we were happy to do what we were meant to do, to feed and forage and nap and play. My father was a master at leading us to the ripest fruit for our morning feast and the finest branches for our night nest. He was everything a silverback is meant to be, a guide, a teacher, a protector, and nobody could chest beat like my father. Chapter, A Perfect Life. Gorilla babies and elephant babies and human babies are not so different, except that a gorilla gets to spend the day riding on the mother's back like a cowboy or a horse. It's a pretty great system from the baby's point of view. Slowly, carefully, a young gorilla begins to venture farther and farther away from the safety of his mother's arms. He learns the skills he will need as an adult, how to make a nest of branches, leave them tightly or they will fall apart in the middle of the night, how to beat your chest, cup your palms to amplify the sound, how to go vibing from tree to tree, don't let go, how to be kind, be strong, be loyal. Growing up gorilla is just like any other kind of growing up. You make mistakes, you play, you learn, you do it all over again. It was, for a while, a perfect life. The end. Chapter, the end. One day, a still day, when the hot air hummed, the humans came. Chapter, fine. After they captured my sister and me, they put us in cramped, dark crates that smelled of urine and fear. Somehow I knew that in order to live, I had to let my old life die. But my sister could not let go of our home. It held her like a vine, stretching across the miles, comforting, strangling. We were still in our crate when she looked at me without seeing, and I knew that the vine had finally snapped. Chapter: The Temporary Human. It was Mac who pried open the crate, Mac who bought me, and Mac who raised me like a human baby. I wore diapers, I drank from a bottle, I slept in humans' beds, sat in human chairs, listened while humans' words swarmed around me like angry bees. Mac had a wife back then. Helen was quick to laugh, but quick to anger too, especially when I broke something, which was often. Here is what I broke when I lived with Mac and Helen: one crib, 46 glasses, 7 lamps, one couch, 3 shower curtains, 3 shower rods, one blender, one TV, one radio, 3 toes, my own. I broke the blender when I squeezed 3 tubs of toothpaste and a bottle of glue in it. I broke my toes attempting to swing from lamp fixtures on the ceiling. I broke 46 glasses. Well, it turns out there are many ways to break a glass. Every weekend, Mac and Helen took me in their convertible to a fast food restaurant where they ordered me french fries and a strawberry shake. Mac loved to see the expression on the cashier's face when he drove up and said, "Could I have some extra ketchup for my kid?" I went to baseball games, to the grocery store, to a movie theater, even to the circus. They didn't have a gorilla. I rode a little motorbike and blew out candles on my birthday cake. My life as a human was a glamorous one, although my parents, traditional sorts, would not have approved. Chapter: Hunger. In my new life as a human, I was well tended. I ate lettuce leaves with Thousand Islands dressing, and caramel apples and popcorn with butter. My belly ballooned. But hunger, like food, comes in many shapes and colors. At night, lying alone in my poo pajamas, I felt hungry for the skilled touch of a grooming friend, for the cheerful grunts of a play fight, for the easy safety of my nearby troop. Foraging those shadows. Remember what happened to Tag, I told myself. Don't think about the jungle. Still, sometimes I lay awake, wishing for the warmth of another, just like me, asleep in the night nest of tender prayer plant leaves. I like having sips of soda poured into my mouth like bubbling waterfall, but every now and then I long to search for a tender stalk of arrowroot to feel the tease of mango just out of reach. Chapter: Still Life. One day, Helen came home with something large and flat, wrapped in brown paper. "Look what I bought today," she said excitedly and tore off the paper. "A painting to go over the living room couch." "Fruit in a bowl," Max said with a shrug. "Big deal." "This is fine art. It's called a still life," Helen explained, "and I think it's lovely." I dashed over to examine the painting, marveling at the colors and shapes. "See," said Max's wife, "Ivan likes it." "Ivan likes to roll up poop and throw it at squirrels," Max said. I couldn't take my eyes off the apples and bananas and grapes in the picture. They looked so real, so inviting, so edible. I reached out to touch a grape, and Ellen slapped my hand. "Bad boy, Ivan, don't touch." She jerked her thumb at Mac. "Honey, go get the hammer and nail, would ya?" While Mac and Helen were busy in the kitchen, I wandered into the kitchen. A cake covered in thick chocolate frosting sat on the counter. I like cake, love it in fact, but it wasn't eating I was thinking about. It was painting. The frosting peaked and dipped like waves on a tiny pond. It looked rich and gooey, dark and smooth. It looked like mud. I scooped up a handful of frosting. I scooped up another. I headed to the refrigerator door. It was perfect, an empty white waiting canvas. The frosting wasn't as easy to work with as jungle mud. It was stickier and, of course, more tempting to eat. But I kept at it. I scraped off every last bit of that frosting. I may have eaten a little cake, too. I don't remember what I was trying to paint. A banana, most likely. I suppose I knew I was going to get in trouble. But at that moment, I just didn't care. I wanted to make something, anything, the way I used to. I wanted to be an artist again. Punishment. I soon learned that humans can screech even louder than monkeys. After that, I was never allowed in the kitchen. Babies. Back in those days, the Big Top Mall was smaller. It had a pony ride, a wooden train that bustled around the parking lot, a few bedraggled parrots, and a Shirley spider monkey. But when Mac brought me a baby gorilla dressed in a crisp tuxedo to the mall, Everything changed. People came from far and wide to have their pictures taken with me. They brought me blocks and a toy guitar. They held me in their laps. Once I even held a baby in mine. She was small and slippery. Bubbles flowed from her lips. She squeezed my fingers. Her rear was puffy with padding. Her legs bowed like bent wings. I made a face. She made a face. I grunted. She grunted. I was so afraid she would fall that I squeezed her tightly, and her mother yanked her away. I wonder if my mother ever worried about dropping us. We always held on, but that's easier to do when your mother is furry. Human babies are an ugly lot, but their eyes are like our babies, too big for their faces and for the world. Beds. One day, after many weeks of loud talking, Helen packed a bag and slammed the front door and never came back. I don't know why. I never know the why of humans. That night, I slept with Mac in his bed. My old nests were woven of leaves and sticks and shaped like his bathtub, cool green cocoons. Mac's bed was like mine. It was flat, hot, without sticks or stars. Still, he made a sleeping sound like the rumble my father used to make when all was well, a sound from deep inside his belly. My place. Mac grew sullen. I grew bigger. I became what I was meant to be, too large for shares, too strong for hugs, too big for human life. I tried to stay calm, to move with dignity. I did my best to eat daintily, but human ways are hard to learn, especially when you're not human. When I saw my new domain, I was thrilled, and who wouldn't have been? I had no furniture to break, no glasses to smash, no toilets to drop Mac's keys into. It even had a tire swing. I was relieved to have my own place. Somehow, I didn't realize I'd be here quite so long. Now I drink Pepsi, eat old apples, watch reruns on TV. But many days I forget what I'm supposed to be. Am I human? Am I a gorilla? Humans have so many words, more than they truly need. Still, they have no name for what I am. All right, we're going to stop right there. So I hope as we were going, you paused, you filled out some things. I really want to do this together, but I guess I can't. My live friends bring this to our live session today, and we'll go over it. I can't wait to see what my self-paced friends have put. So remember, talk about Ivan's life in the wild. How was it? I know he mentioned maybe how he was carried, how he did activities like swinging and painting, what he would have eaten. Compared to life in captivity, he went through drive-thrus in cars. He wore a diaper. He ate fast food, all of that stuff. And then what do they have in common? They might can paint different ways, but they both can paint. So think about the things they have in common as well. Let's look real quick at our rising action. I think I have been putting it, I think I've been adding it to yours. Oops. Let's go to yours. Yeah, I've been adding it to yours. So these are our rising actions. And one that we just did is Ivan recalls his childhood in a story for Ruby. So he was telling his story about his childhood to Ruby. And that's what we were just hearing and witnessing. Well, yeah, let me check. All right, so you're going to complete the Venn diagram, and then I want you to do the comprehension check, okay? So Venn diagram and comprehension check, and then you can fill in about the rising action. So go do those. If you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you guys later. Bye.